White House economic advisor Kevin Hassett warning that federal layoffs are coming as government shutdown now enters day 6. The Senate is expected to hold another critical vote tonight at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Now, there are 2 funding proposals on the table. There's the Republicans' clean short-term bill, and then there's the counter-proposal from Democrats, which, of course, includes Obamacare subsidies. Both bills need 60 votes to pass, but Democrats remain firmly opposed to the Republican-backed measure, which would extend government operations through November 21st. Joining me now is Michigan Congressman John Moolenaar, a member of the House Appropriations Committee and the chairman of the House Select Committee on China. Mr. Chairman, it's great to see you again. Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Maria. Good to see you again.
First thing I want to cover with you is the government shutdown. What are you expecting from the Senate vote tonight, and how long do you think this is going to go on?
Well, my hope is that additional Democrats, in addition to the 3 who supported it last time, will support the common sense measure that just simply gives us more time to negotiate spending levels. And my hope is that that will happen. If it doesn't, we'll continue in this shutdown mode, which ultimately is going to affect our troop funding. It starts October 15th. When you think of women, infants, and children programs that help the poorest of the poor, they are going to be affected as well if we don't get this resolved. So a shutdown doesn't help anybody. It really makes sense to fund the government and then negotiate these other policy priorities.
Well, you're absolutely right. In fact, 2 Democrats already voted with Republicans. John Fetterman was one of them, and he told me last week when I had him on the show, this is just not something I'm going to do. I'm going to be independent-minded, and I am not going to vote for any government shutdown. Here's what he told me last week when I spoke with him ahead of the shutdown. Watch this.
It is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things. And if it's the Republican side or now it's our side, especially with the kinds of chaos that we are facing after Kirk, and now there's a Cat 5 storm that might hit our nation too. Now, and you're willing to threaten us down. I was the only Democrat voting against that. And now that CR was the same CR from the Biden administration as well too.
Right.
For me, I'm a big believer of if you want to change the policies, win elections. And that's really the way democracy works.
Yeah. So, Congressman, I spoke with John Thune yesterday. He's hoping he can get 5 more votes, Democrat votes, so that we could be done with this. But I want to get your take on China, because now Beijing is trying to taunt President Trump with $1 trillion investment in America. What is this all about? The leadership in China, Xi Jinping, wants the U.S. to relax security-minded U.S. restrictions and controls. And in exchange, they're claiming that they will invest up to $1 trillion in America. What's this all about? What can you say?
Well, it sounds like they're inviting us to become part of the Belt and Road Initiative, where they invest in our country, they supply workforce, and that, to me, would be a disaster. Well, we don't need their investments. There are many countries who want to invest in the United States. We certainly have a strong economy, and we're seeing President Trump's leadership on this, bringing more investments in the U.S. But China, attached with that come strings, and we don't want to empower our foremost adversary by allowing our economy to become further dependent than we already are. And so, to me, they are trying to negotiate that. They're trying to get us away from this security discussion. And I think it's important that we need to recognize they are our foremost adversary, and we need to treat them likewise.
Yeah, and no doubt, Xi Jinping has watched President Trump negotiate so much investment coming into America. So he's trying to lure the president on that because he knows that he wants investment. But you make great points. They've been undermining this country for decades now, and we'll see if anybody falls for that. But I got to get your take on what happened in Philadelphia. I mean, the Philadelphia Office of Immigrant Affairs raised the Chinese flag this past Tuesday in front of City Hall, calling it a celebration of the establishment of the Chinese Communist Party. This event was sponsored by the Pennsylvania United Chinese Coalition, Mr. Chairman. This is the same city where America declared its independence nearly 250 years ago, and they raised the communist flag. I know you sent a letter to Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker asking to cancel the flag-raising ceremony, but they didn't. Your reaction?
Well, it's very disappointing because, as you point out, the Declaration of Independence, we are endowed by our Creator with the right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. The government's job is, to secure our rights. You couldn't have a more opposite regime than the Chinese Communist Party that doesn't recognize human dignity and secure the rights of their citizens. And so the idea that we're celebrating and raising the Chinese Communist Party flag and celebrating their founding when they've been the most brutal regime to their own people and throughout the region. And so we requested that they not do this. They landed on the idea that they have a sister city relationship. But, when some of these cities, including Washington, D.C., formed sister city relationships, there was the hope that China was going to become more freedom-loving, more democratic, more part of the world order that would be a responsible economic leader and be a benefit to mankind. In reality, they are partnering with Russia, North Korea, Iran to destabilize the world order that we have benefited from as Americans. And so it's a bad idea, and we need to discontinue these sister city programs.
So what do you want to see happen then when President Trump meets Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit? We're expecting that to happen on October 31st, the beginning of the summit.
Well, I hope, first of all, President Trump's an excellent negotiator, and I believe he will come in with a strong hand, peace through strength. I hope that we can get this situation over Taiwan resolved, that they would not try and take Taiwan by force. I hope that they would discontinue their efforts to destabilize America with the fentanyl precursors that they are manufacturing in China. And we need to continue to push back on their national security laws that enable them to have any Chinese national that comes into this country be leveraged to spy for their country. And we've seen that over and over again. So all of those are key priorities and need to be addressed.
Yes, for sure. Now, the State Department has released its annual report on human trafficking. They identified China as one of the 13 countries with a pattern of crime when it comes to trafficking humans. The report says 3.9 million individuals are exploited by state-imposed forced labor in China and several other countries. Mr. Chairman, you say China's genocide of ethnic and religious minorities in Xinjiang is a human trafficking nightmare where hundreds of thousands of innocent people are imprisoned and forced into labor camps.
You're exactly right. And it's been documented over and over again by various administrations, Republican and Democrat, as well as people throughout the world. So this is not some hypothetical. This is happening. And unfortunately, sometimes our businesses have supply chains that are dependent on that. And we need to strongly enforce the Uyghur Protection Act that protects our companies from having supply chains based on slave labor. But there's a very different viewpoint on human dignity when it comes to China. It's a very utilitarian thing where the people are the instrument of the state rather than the government securing its citizens' rights. And so as long as that continues, we're going to see these kinds of human trafficking and repressive activities towards people both in China as well as around the world, because we've seen them leverage this against dissidents here in America and around the world.
All right. Well, we will keep watching all of that. And we thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your efforts on this and keeping America safe. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Maria.
All right. John Moolenaar joining us this morning.